California Department of Education discussing a conference called the Annual Moving to Needle Summer Institute. That's all this is. An email from the state regarding a conference that covers CPA teams. I sent it to Manus, and I said, can you research the California Partnership Academy? Give me a highlight of what it is. Also research the institute they mentioned in this email. Gather any pertinent information I may relay to my CPA teams. Find out the viability and process for expanding our academies, what the process applying for a new one, create a PowerPoint presentation to show to my leadership team, create a sample website for Law Enforcement Academy located at Redlands High School. Use the theme and use the showcase of the school colors and the mascot as well in law enforcement theme. Build a sample budget in Excel that I can submit to my CPA application. I want you to notice a few things. I mentioned a school, Redlands High School. I mentioned Law Enforcement Academy. And I asked it to build a budget and do the research on California Partnership Academies and applying for them. Nothing in this email that I'm sending it talks about that. Here's what it emails me back immediately. I received your task and started working on it. I will do the following. Read and analyze your email. Research the California Partnership Academy program. Research expanding it. Prepare a presentation. Generate a PowerPoint. Build sample law enforcement website. Create a sample CPA application budget in Excel. And deliver all the final deliverables to the user. The only thing I did was forwarded an email. 15 minutes later, it sent me this. I've completed your task. I've completed all the deliverables. It gave me the overview, and it attached all the things I asked for. And let me show you what it gave me. Here's the website it created about the Public Safety Academy, about the program, about the pathways that we can offer through it, how to apply for it. Down here at the bottom, it said that Redlands High School belongs to Redlands Unified School District. You'll notice it grabbed the Terriers mascot. I didn't give it any of that information. So it went out, it researched the district, it researched the school, it researched the California Partnership Academy's website, along with how to apply for it. It also delivered me a presentation that I can provide to my leadership team. It provided images. It talked about what is CPA. It talked about, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, target student population. So it looked at what the target populations for a partnership academy is. It built the business partnership piece. That's a huge portion of a CPA. It talked about the budget and the state matches that I have to provide. Authorize prohibited expenditures. Moving the needle. This was the conference that was in the email. It's the only slide that was a part of the email. Phasing, market demand, gives me timelines. Think about what images. All of this was off a single prompt in 15 minutes. Even better than that, at the end of all of this, after I apply, here's the budget it provided. The grant funds, the district match, and the business partner match. It provided me a detailed budget of what curriculum to purchase, student support. These are all pieces required in the grant application. And then over here, it provided the match documentation that I would need to provide in the application to the CPA grants. So if I were to apply it to a business application, all right, you're trying to get into a business as a chief AI officer, right? So you're sending out your feelers, you're checking into various companies. Think about the power of just tasking. You get an email from somebody that says, "Hey, I'm interested in you coming and talking to my team." You can forward that email to Manus and ask it to analyze the company, give me its size, its annual revenue, give me if it has leadership team, any of the C-suite, provide me a presentation, provide me a budget, build me a 3-year strategy where I can stay within the company, right? And walk away. And you can do that to the 5 emails you got today as feeds. So there's a ton of possibility here. One more example I'll give you before we open up to questions was how I use it a ton. Yesterday, there was a workshop, a budget workshop given by Capital Advisors. They're located up in Northern California. And at the end of the presentation, they sent me their budget, their presentation. Thank you for attending our Budget Perspectives workshop. Attached is the PowerPoint. They attached a 6 megabyte PowerPoint. It's 37 pages long. I sent it to Manus and said, can you analyze the attached PowerPoint? Give me details about any new money coming to school districts. Cut out all the fluff. Just give me what I want out of those 37 slides. Here's its response. I've completed your task. Analyze the PowerPoint for new funding details. I've completed a comprehensive analysis of the budget presentation. Major new funding, discretionary block grant of 2.8 million, approximately 500 per ADA, that's per every student. LCFF is going to be funded at 2.41%. They're going to repay $3.8 billion from deferrals. They're going to provide $1 billion towards community schools, another 509 million towards special education. This is all I needed. I didn't have to go through those 37 slides and pull out what I needed. I just let Manus do that. I just sent a simple email. In your settings, you set that email. All emails are at ManusBot, and you set that. For today's example, I put CAIO class. One of the new features they added about a week ago, which blows my mind, I can customize additional emails to send to. So for example, I added dash summarize. And with that custom email, I can insert custom instructions. So here's my custom instructions. Summarize the email and provide quick feedback. Start with one brief sentence that captures the main point. Follow with a bulleted list of key facts that I need to know. If a response is needed, write a short reply for me. Keep the reply simple. Confirm I received the email and reference a few points they mentioned to show I understand. Include a short timeline for my full response. So now I can forward any email to CAIO class-summarize at manus.bot with no instructions, and it will automatically apply these instructions and send that back to me. Think about the potential of any new feed or question you get. You can automatically create a rule in your email box to forward it here, which then will read it, provide a summary, and then reply that back to you. And then you can do what you need to. Lots of potential. Now, what's exciting or scary at the same time, I'll go back to here, is remember, this is a Chinese-based company. And I'm only saying that so that we're all understand that our data is leaving the US shores. With Meta purchasing this product, How does that change it? Are they going to bring the technology into the US? Is it going to be driven by Meta? Is it going to continue to be a wrapper for these other services to provide the power? We don't know yet. Um, but I use this more and more every day because it makes my life a lot easier. It is not hard to go prompt an AI to do what you need to do. But if I wanted to summarize an email in ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, I'm going to have to copy and paste the email in. I'm going to have to attach any PowerPoints or documents to that, and then I'm going to have to prompt it. In this scenario, I just forward it and it will do all the work I need to do. I'll be honest, and if you look in the Chief AI Officer community and you look a lot of the posts I put in there, I belong to a lot of newsletters. And so I get a lot of AI newsletters that come to me. I can forward that newsletter to my Manaspot. It will automatically create a post with an educational spin with the title. And I just repost that back into the community. So I'm automating all of that. Now, if you trust the connectors, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't trust the connectors and connecting to your various sources, you can automate a lot of these things to post for you. It's your level of comfort, right? Are there any questions at this point? I mean, I can go into more details on other things. I want to show you a few more examples, but I want to make sure that I stop and take any questions that anybody have at this point.
So you do have a couple of questions in the chat. So I know Michael asked, how do you verify? Would you tell it to give you citations of the slides it pulled from?
Yeah, you can. In the sample I gave you, I used to run partnership academies at my prior district, so I'm super familiar with those. And so the example I gave you today was one that I just know in and out. So when it started talking about the matches and all of that, I know exactly what it's doing. Let me show you. Let me go back to sharing because I skipped over kind of some big things. And we go back to Manus. I'm going to close this. If I were to follow the chat, so here was the email that came in, right? And then it starts. So here's what Manus was telling me if I were to watch it. Read and analyze the email to understand the context. It, it uploaded it. This is the console it creates. It created a summary text file. If I click on that, I can actually look at what it summarized in my email, right? So I can verify if that is summarizing correct or not. I can also make modifications and I can jump back into it and rerun it with those modifications. The second thing, research partnership academies, I can actually look where it researched. It searched the California partnership. This is the search it used. It actually browsed the CDE website. So I can click on this and go look at where it pulled the information from. So I know that the information it's using in the PowerPoint, it actually extracted from the California Partnership Academies on CDE's website. Not only can I see where it went to, but I can click on the file of data it extracted. So when it went to that website, this is the data it extracted and used to create the presentation. So I can go in and verify exactly what it's using for its next step. Then I move down, confirm that the California Partnership is a 3-year grant. It also went back into this website, which was the overview of the CPA grants. And then I can look to see what it pulled from that overview. So when we talk about verifying data, after it gives you your results, you can technically go in here and look at all of that. And if I wanted to sit here and watch it for 15 minutes, I can see it doing this. All the way down, and I'm not going to go through the details, but you can see as I move down this list, and I can see the timeline and the timestamps that it's doing things, right? So this was at 7:20, you know, this was at 7:21. So it's putting the little, so here's the slide presentation outline. Um, and I can also edit. So I do not find, so I can actually go into the code um, and edit this PowerPoint. And then when I'm done editing the PowerPoint, I can go back to presenter view, right, and see the slides that it did. So there's a lot of power that you have with those.
Thank you. There's a follow-up from Michael, and then Nicole has a question. So, Michael, just clarify, do you study those insights to learn to better prompt it? Is that a good use of time for bigger projects?
I'm generally studying those insights to ensure that it's using the information I want to, right? I want to know if it went off track or not. You know, with any AI, you want to double check its work. I can also sometimes, and I've done this before, where I've taken this data. So you can see on the right, these are my slide presentations content. I've copied this out into like a Word document. I've edited it and made changes to it, and then I've thrown this in Gamma, right, to see if it created a different style presentation for me. This is the entire outline it used to develop what it called a PowerPoint. I find editing their PowerPoint is not seamless. They use a lot of, if you understand web design, all right, they use a lot of div tags. It's not a traditional table. So when you look at this, these are all different div tags within the background. So if you're not super familiar with HTML, it can be a little difficult to modify their PowerPoint. I have some background, so I can get in and make subtle modifications. I can make spelling changes, like I'll correct spelling or add another line or two. But when it starts to modify, let's say I want this table on this side and this image on this side, you got to understand how to go in and edit HTML. And not all of us are equipped with that, right? So when I've noticed that I'm starting to fight too much, then what I'll do is I'll go into the slides, I'll go into this and I'll take the data and throw it into Gamma, where I have a little bit more control over a WYSIWYG style editor.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to allow Nicole to ask her question. Nicole, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Joe. Great presentation, Jason. I actually love using Manus, especially for really complex where you have multiple components like this. I guess my question for you is, I haven't used it to create a presentation like you. I choose different LLMs depending on the task, and I know Manus is really more of a wrapper, but I'm just curious if, and you sort of answered this question about the, sometimes having to dealing with the difficulties of what's created in the PowerPoint. I'm just wondering if you've compared doing something similar like this and any of the other LLMs. Like, have you gone to, say, ChatGPT or Claude and kind of given it a similar prompt to see if it comes up with the same, that if it would be able to do the same type of thing?
Yes, and they do. But here's what I've noticed the difference between Manus and any of those. if I go back to this response, you'll notice that when I forwarded it to Manus, when I prompted Manus, Manus is going to break apart my prompt into separate tasks, and then it's going to complete each task independently. And what I find when I use a larger LLM, any of them, ChatGPT, Gemini, any of them, and I prompt a large prompt where I'm asking it for multiple variables at the end, I don't ever get that. I don't ever get a simple PowerPoint along with an Excel spreadsheet along with this. I tend to get one or two of those things that I then have to struggle with, right? It did this well, or it didn't give me an Excel spreadsheet, right? It put the data into a table in the LLM response in the window. And then I'm like, well, can you provide me a CSV download? And then I gotta wait for that to happen, right? So yes, you can have other language models create PowerPoints, you can have other language models create spreadsheets, and they all do it differently. But none of them kind of break apart those tasks into autonomous pieces. And that's what makes, in my opinion, Manus so different, is that it inherently is designed to take what you say and break it up and then complete those tasks independently. And if we go back to Manus and you look at the way that it processed this, it's doing this one piece and then it's doing this piece. And if you think about the context of an LLM, it takes your prompt, it breaks it up into tokens, and then up in its computers, it's trying to assemble those tokens back in a way that makes for a response. This is doing the same thing, but it's doing it in much smaller pieces. It's not throwing the whole prompt up there. It's throwing pieces of it and then rebuilding that in separate pieces. So it's that autonomous style nature. And I think a lot of these language models, when you look at like Claude Cowork, are going to do this, but all of them are doing it on your computer, right? And you can have them task your computer, which is not a bad thing, but it's a little bit scary. You look at some of the most recent headlines, Cowork wiped out my calendar, right? Cowork deleted all my emails. So you risk that. Whereas this is tasking out its own consoles. It's not actually doing anything on your computer. Now you can, one of those connectors, I'll go to one of those connectors is connecting it to your browser. I don't know that I trust really any agent right now. When Perplexity first came out with their connection to email, I thought, what a great concept. Until I realized it was starting to sort my 100,000 emails into colors. And I thought, oh my God, my type A personality is going to, I'm like, cancel, 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 cancel. Like, I can't think that way. But the minute I connected it, it just started going, right? And so I had to break the connection and then reverse some of those things. And I kind of look at that way with Cowork and these things and these agentic type browsers is if you're not watching them, you have to be careful what it's doing. And so what I like about this is it's doing the same concept. It's agentically doing things step at a time, but it's doing it with its own consoles. It's not doing it with your actual computer. So I've kind of
Thanks,
answered two different
Jason.
things there. Yeah.
Actually, it was a wonderful answer. I really appreciate the detail that you provided there, and I want to say thank you for the tip about the email because I that part I didn't know. So it
Uh,
I use Manus a lot for like problem solving, coming up with I need to do this. How would I go about creating this type of whether it's a bot or an agent and so you just gave me a lot of information about, even taking it a step further. So thank you. This was great.
mhm. Steve, yeah, I looked at your comment and building, yeah, some security tools. You know, with any AI, right? You got to be super careful. You just do. Um, I treat Manus the same way. It's got to be careful, right? Researching a company, summarizing an email, I'm not too worried about, right? All of that stuff's kind of public anyway. Um, but I'm not going to throw, anything confidential in here. Luckily for me, public school budgets are public, right? I have to put everything I do, financial transparency is public. So I can have this analyze my budgets. Here's a perfect example of a real life business scenario. We meet with every one of our schools every year and give them budget overviews. Um, and we do it usually online. We put up the screen, we put it on the wall, and we go over the budget. What we did this year is we downloaded their budgets and we threw it into Manus and had it build a budget sheet for every school. And we handed them a paper document. And it seems silly, but the principals were so happy. They're like, I love this paper document. It gives us the overview much easier than navigating on the screen. And it's our numbers. We can verify its accuracy. And it did that accurately. And it broke up. We uploaded a spreadsheet that had the schools and then all of their budgets. And it built a separate individual page for each school automatically. And we had that not as a PDF, but create them as docx files so that we can edit them and make changes if we need to at the time that we do the presentation. And Manus did all of that. But if I'm working with a company that doesn't have public access to its budgets, I don't know that I would throw their budgets in Manus, right?
I don't see
Any
any
other
other
questions?
questions in the chat. If you have a question, please feel free to come off of mute and ask it, and we will spotlight you.
Hey,
I
Jason.
see Victoria said, can you show us how you manage multiple newsletters and information that you receive daily? Well, I can show you with Manus, one that I sent it. Here's one. I received an email. This email is it's hard to read because it's on a black screen, but you get the picture. It's a newsletter. It's an AI newsletter that I subscribe to. It's a Substack, right? And it came to me. Uh, I forwarded that to Manus and I said, summarize into an easy to read and understand post. And here's what it sent me. It took that long email and broke it up into this post. I felt it was still too long and too educational specific for this AI community. So I didn't use it, right? I don't like posting posts that are too long. I can continue to narrow it down, but I just abandoned it quickly because I read it and didn't like it. I do that. I'm just looking for another one. So here was another one, beyond standard LLMs. Based on this article, I can see there are different types of LLMs. I would like to know a bit more about the larger picture. So I gave it a prompt and then it did the work. And then at the end of it, it gives me a high level view of model architecture. Again, I'm using that email a lot. Yeah, I went to buy a truck, right? So I said to Manus, in the 2026 Tundra, what are the base differences between the limited and the platinum? Right? So it went out, it talked about pricing, right? Typical language model, you can do this in anything. But I could say, create a presentation to convince my wife. to go for the platinum. Sorry, I can't type while I talk. So I'm just going back to this chat, and then I'm saying create a presentation to convince my wife I want the higher model. And then boom, it's off to the races, right? So it's now preparing a presentation. It said I found the key luxury and tech features of the platinum trim, emphasizing the upgrades over the limited to craft a persuasive argument for choosing platinum. So, right, it's going to work. So it's a typical chat. You know, I'll be honest, its language is not, I prefer Claude for my writing style, right? I prefer chat because it's going to give me answers that are customized to me and what it knows about me. You know, Manus doesn't have those same features. It doesn't know about me very much. And I don't like the writing style as much as Claude. But what I do like about it is it does summarize emails extremely well. It digs into comprehensive PowerPoints and presentations and PDFs that are big and bulky. Here's one. Here's a um, perfect one. We have libraries at each of our schools, and some of our libraries have 50 to 2 to 300,000 titles. We were trying to have AI analyze our library books for inappropriate content and to create a categorization system. Recommend if a book is elementary, middle, or high school aged content. Every single LLM we tried failed. Some, the context window wouldn't fit because you know, if you look at the amount of books in this library, I uploaded 53,000 titles, which exceeded the context window in almost every language model. A lot of them said that it reviewed all of them, and it didn't, right? It chose a smaller amount. I was having trouble everywhere. So what I did is I pasted my prompt into this. I attached the library title, and my prompt is in the pasted text. It said, got it. I'm going to go after them. I've analyzed task requirements in Excel file structure. The file contains 55,000 books. I need to add 2 columns. It added recommended grade bands. It added age and fit rationale. It did that because my prompt said to do that. This is a substantial task that will require analyzing each title using decision rules provided, including series recognition, maturity, right? It does all this work. The initial analysis has been completed. However, I noticed the current classification is too conservative and may be flagged many appropriate elementary titles like science books based solely on Dewey numbers. Let me refine the classification logic to be more accurate for K-5 collections. I noticed that some are false positives in the classification. For example, Junie B, first grader Toothless Wonder is being flagged as 6.8 because the word wonder matches Wonder series of Grand Canyon Exploring Nature Wonder, right? It has the same issues. So it's finding errors within its logic. It's then correcting those errors. It's making the changes. It says, excellent, the classification is now working much better. The results show mostly titles are appropriately classified for K-12. Series are being correctly identified. Dewey classification system. So it's doing all of this work. And then at the end of it, it provided me a list of books that were flagged, that were inappropriately flagged for that library. It provided me the master list, which was the original list with those 2 columns added. See these 2 columns on the right? Here's the grade level as well as the appropriate. So it actually took my spreadsheet, added 2 columns, created the data, and then attached it back to the spreadsheet. It gave us an overview. It completed an analysis of 55,000 items. It flagged 509 books for review. So it gave me all the reviews and then a K5 summary of those reviews. So its response gave me everything I needed. It was the only language, and I'll call it a language model. It was the only AI model that could handle this task. Why? Because it took apart the task into multiple agents, right? Unlike all of the other ones that threw all the data into a single context window and tried to accomplish this task in a context window, whereas this took it apart, broke it into multiple context windows and did the work. So I don't know how we got to that question. Sorry. But it's a perfect example of something that Manus was able to complete that nothing else was able to complete accurately. And again, this is just results I give to my librarians to actually do the work. And it did that in about 20 minutes. Or I could have given 55,000 library books to my librarians to review one at a time and paid lots of man hours to do. I still need them to review the 500 titles, but I went from 55,000 to 500.
I'll ask a question. Did you have enough credit? I've had to top up credits for similar tasks, not prohibitively, but expensive, but it was a cost. So did that task you just showed, did you have enough credit to complete it?
Yeah. So if I go to, let's just look. View usage. Let's go down here, shape, how, right here, 104 credits. Now the presentation that I showed you for today's class, 300. The presentation I just created for my wife, 249. The email I showed you summarizing the PowerPoint, 39. And that California partnership with had the website, the presentation, and the budget, 337. Now let's be curious. Let's go to my Tundra example. Let's see what it did. Why the platinum trim is the right choice for us, right? Because remember, it's for my wife, right? The platinum advantage, comfort for everyone, not just the driver, right? The panoramic sunroof, 360-degree awareness safing, premium audio technology experience, like right? Price difference, right? What would we be missing if we didn't have the platinum? Why the platinum makes sense for us? And let's choose the platinum together. I could just see her like telling me to get out of the room. What you just saw, was 268 credits. I have never exceeded my monthly allotment. Like I would go down, be honest with you. 8,000 is their lowest tier under free. I don't need 8,000 a month. Um, and the way that it eats it, it uses daily credits, then it goes monthly credits, then it goes free credits, and then it goes add-on credits. So I'll never eat my add-on or free until I expend my total monthly allowable expense, and I've never used it. But this is $34 a month, right? It's not cheap. I'm not saying that everybody can, go out and get Manus, but you get 300 credits free a day. And, there's a few things that I've hit above that 300 mark. I'm sitting about that 300 mark or less on almost everything. Right, here's my biggest one, how to build a mixologist. Huh. L- le- I know, I get off task, but have you guys ever built a custom agent um, in ChatGPT? What I did, because I didn't want to do the work, I don't even know where to show it to you. I said, Manus, I want to build a custom agent that is a mixologist. Can you research common mixed drinks, all of the Oh, here it is right here. How to build a mixologist. Here's the prompt. I want to build a custom agent per GPT project that you could speak to about building mixed drinks. So what I'm looking for are custom instructions, downloads, PDFs, knowledge banks that I could use to program the GPT and help customize the mixologist AI. So it did all of this work. It gave me the custom instructions, quick start, what makes this special. It gave me the mixologist AI package to upload into GPT custom instructions, the JSON file that has the IBA cocktail list. It considered built a complete mixologist base, prompt templates. It created all of this for me. I went over to AI or Chat GPT. I uploaded all of it, built the custom GPT, and I built my custom mixologist. And then I went to look and I realized there's already like 50 of them out there. And so I abandoned the project. But ultimately, it took me a matter of 10 minutes to do to prompt this to create it. And then I just dumped all this stuff into ChatGPT and it did it all. And what I loved about it is it created a JSON file. Now, we don't need to get into the picky stuff, but it created a JSON file with the entire IBA, the International Beverage Association's mixed drink list. So that anytime anybody types in what type of drink they want, it can refer to this JSON file and then give them that response. Then it built this PDF, right? I mean, I just built a PDF I could sell you know what I mean? That talks about mixing drinks. So as people start to customize it, like it's just crazy what it did. This is just deep research, right? I mean, you can do deep research in any of these applications. But not only did it do the deep research, but it also gave me every file I needed to build the custom GPT. That's way off topic, and it's 10:56. So sorry.
I got a quick
I just get
question for you.
excited about this stuff.
Joel, you said you had a question?
Yep, I got a question for you. I saw how you integrated it with your email. I'm curious, for those of us who have Microsoft as an email provider, what do you recommend for that? Because most of the LLMs out there, they'll talk no problem whatsoever to Google. But if you
Yeah.
want to get them to talk to M365 and Outlook and all that stuff, it's just kind of painful. I mean, it's even painful in Copilot.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
No,
work
I agree.
as well as I expected. I was just curious what you would
Yeah,
recommend.
my district uses Office 365. Um, so all of the samples I gave you today were me using Office 365. Remember, I don't connect Manus directly to my email
Yeah.
for security reasons. But what I do is forward my emails to Manus. So you can build a rule, technically, if you wanted all emails or certain emails, you can build a custom rule that when certain emails come in, they automatically forward to the email that Manus has, which then it will send you back its response. So what's nice about that is, remember, you can customize the emails with customized responses in Manus. So you can send, prospective emails to this. And the only thing you want to be careful about is, and I learned this with Copilot, right? Because I have Copilot with work and, I struggle with it every day because it just
Yeah.
doesn't work. But I created Copilot to automatically read my emails and generate that kind of prompt response that you saw me do in Manus. But it created a cycle because every time the email came in, it saw it again and responded again. And so what I did is I had to create another rule that took any response from that and throw it into a folder, right? So route it out of my inbox so it didn't process it again. Again, all I'm building is using Outlook and rules.
Okay. All right, cool. That's good information. I appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah. All right, we're right on time. 10:59.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Jason, for your time. This has been so interesting, and the comments, everyone is loving this. So I think you
Thank you.
opened a lot of our eyes to this tool. Thank you all, and we will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.